for BIPOC entrepreneurs in pursuit of generational wealth by increasing ethical, equitable, and financially sustainable underserved startup enterprises. Ask you this first question. And I would like, if anybody is joining us, to share it in the comments below or in the chat box. What are the top challenges for BIPOC entrepreneurs today, in your opinion?
I would think, of course, funding is always the big thing, but if they're kind of scaling a little bit, it's the 3 Ps, which is people, process, and profit.
Mentorship is always a challenge, especially when you are a brand new entrepreneur who maybe wasn't raised in an environment where you were around other entrepreneurs.
I already subscribed to a discussion group, a chat room, like we're all really well read. And so I think buy-in can be part of our issue.
Welcome everyone to our CEO conversations this month, our roundtable for WCLI Wisdom Learning Institute. And our mission at Wisdom Counselor Learning Institute is to close the wealth gap for BIPOC entrepreneurs in pursuit of generational wealth by increasing ethical, equitable, and financially sustainable underserved startup enterprises. And so we have our panel here today of glorious founders, CEOs, owners, who are going to be talking to us about some of the challenges in this space. And of course, what are their focuses for 2023? As we've heard, a lot of things are changing and moving in this entrepreneurial space. So first up, we have CJ Chappelle. Over the past 2 decades, CJ has worked diligently with numerous companies to create organizational infrastructures that resulted in increased capacity, sustainability, and profitability. After many years of hitting a ceiling and experiencing the injustice of intersectionality, in 2013, she created Wisdom Counselors LLC, a management company that provides operation solutions for small businesses, government agencies, and higher education institutions. At the core of WC's infrastructure, CJ addressed gaps in the workforce by creating an ecosystem consisting of minority experts possessing the education and professional skills that provide wraparound services necessary for developing business infrastructures. Next, we have Dr. Shantae Scroggins, is a leadership researcher, writer, and international speaker. She's the founder of and lead facilitator for the Center for Legacy-Driven Leadership, a succession-minded leader development company that shares the language of leadership. Shantae is also the host of the Leaders Lead, Leaders Read podcast, a forum for sharing commentary and resources on leadership. And then we have Shantae Allen. They're the founder of Allen Vocademy LLC, an ed tech company that closes literacy and job performance gaps for adults by delivering innovative courses and e-learning solutions. Her career in higher education spans nearly 20 years, twice recognized in Who's Who in community colleges. She has held roles as developmental reading department chair, director of curriculum, ESL intake coordinator, and many more. And as a literacy expert, she is passionate about making reading and writing comprehension accessible and fun for working adults who desire economic success. And I am your moderator for our conversation tonight. My name is Jessie Santana. I'm an organizational culture strategist. I'm the CEO and founder of The Way We Work, where we develop inclusive and culture-driven leaders to build legacy and create impact by focusing on co-creating brave spaces of intentional inclusivity and fierce belonging. Welcome, everyone. I am very excited to have this conversation with you tonight.
Yes, we're excited to be here.
All right, so let me ask you this first question. And I would like, if anybody is joining us, to share it in the comments below or in the chat box. What are the top challenges for BIPOC entrepreneurs today, in your opinion? Whoever wants to get us started in the conversation. CJ, why don't you go ahead?
Can you repeat that one more time, Jesse? One more time. This is one
What are
more
the
time.
top challenges for BIPOC entrepreneurs today, in your opinion?
Well, it's the three P. Well, it depends on the stage. So if they're just starting out, I would think, of course, funding is always a big thing. But if they're kind of scaling a little bit, it's the three Ps, which is people, process, and profit. So people from the standpoint of not doing it all themselves. I was in a meeting earlier today and the exact same thing. The three things that I just mentioned there just a minute ago was what was happening over and over. The entrepreneurs were like, I do everything. Oh my God, I mean, if I can just not do everything, if I can hire somebody to come on and just take some of this off of me, that'll be great. I can have more balance between work and family. And then the process is the other thing, you know, a lot of them didn't have the technology to kind of help streamline a lot of the work that they were doing. So a lot of stuff they're doing manually. And then, oh my God, profit. Money is always a thing. Cash flow is probably beside, well, the actual top two things statistically is always having the right people. But the second thing is funding. Funding is always a challenge for entrepreneurs. So that's mine. The three top is people, processing, and profit.
That's a great little framework. Shantae Allen, what are your thoughts here?
I'd agree. I would add, as an early stage entrepreneur, that mentorship is always a challenge, especially when you are a brand new entrepreneur who maybe wasn't raised in an environment where you were around other entrepreneurs. You don't know the path. And so it can be difficult trying to figure out who the people are that you should be talking to so that you can get those three Ps in place.
Absolutely. And Dr. Shantae, what are your thoughts here?
I agree with the aforestated, but I think with one more addition, a top challenge, depending if, and I'm going to speak from being an educational service provider, is buy-in. With the accessibility to information today, my expertise and my training is competing with someone else's hours online. And it can be challenging to try and make your pitch and prove your value when even when people become aware of the limitations and the skew, even the bias, the unconscious bias in their research, it can be a challenging thing because you know who your market is, you know how to get to them, and in trying to get to them, you are met with, but I have all of John MacArthur's books. You know, or you're met with, but I already subscribe to a discussion group, a chat room, like we're all really well read. And so I think buy-in can be part of our issue.
Yes, I would also agree with you. And I think both of you, both the Shantays, access is really important, right? You know, whether it's access to the resources, access to the people, access to the decision makers that are purchasing the things, right? Access is really important. And sometimes we don't necessarily grow up or have that access. We can't go to our, parents and say, hey, can you write me $1 million check? Because I want to start this business. So I definitely think access is one of those things that we need to have more access to those accesses. And so what then in your businesses keep you motivated? And I'll go to you, Dr. Shantae, because I feel like in what you just shared about the buy-in, that's really important, right? When people are telling you, oh, they already subscribe to other people and they're already commenting or already in this space of, how do you keep motivated? What keeps you in your business?
I am committed to my essential intent, and that is leadership creates legacy. Leadership is more than one's opinion. Leadership is more than one's experience, but both of those must be funneled into appropriate language that helps one communicate and matriculate in their own career. And that's what keeps me motivated. I am committed to staying in my lane and flourishing in my lane. And it's very tempting. It's very tempting to put on a sideshow and jump through a hoop of fire and do something that's really not in your area of specialty. But I feel like I'm playing the long game, and I want to remain the expert where I am the expert. And that is what drives me. That, we often say we want to get to this place where it doesn't feel like work, where we would do it for free, and you kind of already are while you're trying to engage clients. But I believe in what I'm doing, and I see the value in what I'm doing. And so I just keep plugging away because I get excited about it. And that keeps me driven.
Thank you for that. I think that there's a lot to staying in your lane. And when you're trying to follow the trend or follow what other people are doing and emulating, there's a lot to that where people who are always changing, right? what their zone of genius is or whatever, it's really, they they go off to the side, and then they're always like, oh, entrepreneurship isn't for me. But have you actually been an entrepreneur? Did you do the one thing and then be excellent at that thing? Or did you just try and grab all of the things because you're trying to compete with everybody else? So that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Shantae.
I'm sorry, just you said something so key, and be excellent. Excellent. Excellence is not perfection. Excellence is excellence. It is committing to that thing. That was so good. I'm done now. Councilwoman.
All right. Thank you for that. Shantae, what about you? What keeps you motivated in your business?
So I would say this is actually my 5th business, and hopefully it's my last. And this one, I'm really, 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 really hoping that it would lead me to financial freedom. I want to be able to do things the way I want to do them, of course. I think every entrepreneur does. But I am a creative person, and I feel like there's a ceiling when you work for companies. You get hired for a position that is creative, but they don't want you to be creative. Or there's a financial ceiling. It's just all of these issues where I feel as though I can't be my full potential. And so in this business, my motivation is that if I keep moving forward, that it will happen and it will come to fruition just as I see it.
Yes, absolutely. I actually crossed paths with a neighbor before coming here, and they told me that I appeared lighter. They hadn't seen me in a while. And I realized that part of it for me emotionally and
Right.
all of the things was I'd been constrained by having a full-time job and then trying to be an entrepreneur. But now that I've let go of one and now I'm feet in, that you get to have that creative flow, you get to try things, you get to pursue that excellence, right? And so there's a difference in the way that people are engaging with me, and they see it in me as well. So it's definitely,
Absolutely.
yes, I hope that we continue to build that legacy, right? DJ, and what are your thoughts? What keeps you motivated in your business?
Well, for me, it's alignment with purpose. So in gifting and purpose to me, because it's a greater thing than passion. Because I know that sometimes you have people say, whatever you're passionate about, but for me it has to go beyond passion, because especially like the times of the day that I get up, because I'm one of those people who get up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning and don't go to bed till about maybe 8 to 10. So I do long hours, and one of the things that I think about to keep me doing that, and I was doing that 7 days a week. So, and without a hitch, I kept doing that. But the thing is it's because I believe strongly in this is what I'm called to do. I mean, I was born to do what I do right now. I literally can go to sleep, wake up, and boom, these things just come naturally to me. And I love it. I know people say, okay, oh Lord, hours, some crazy hours. But it's just one of those things where it's just natural for me. I love what I do. And I know that even in the beginning when it was a struggle and I didn't know, I hit cash flow problems. I've been through all those ups, downs, all the way around. Had to rebrand. I have been through all those crazy stages, but the thing that kept me going is because I'm born to do what I do. And this is ministry for me. So it's just kind of a natural thing. So that's what it is for me. That's kind of that's it. That's it for me. It's just that this is ministry. I was born to do this.
That's beautiful. I think that that's an incredible way of thinking of it, right? When you find that thing that you're meant to do all along, it doesn't feel like a struggle, right? It doesn't feel like you can overcome the challenges of launching a business because you know that this is where you're meant to be. And so that's just beautiful. So one of the things that I would like to touch on in overcoming those, and I know that I didn't prep you for this, but can you give an example of something that you have overcome, or what's been a moment in your entrepreneurial journey that was like a trigger for you to know that this is what you should be doing and this is what you learned from that experience? What was the context of that challenge that you overcame? Any of you that would like to jump in on this? I feel like CJ, you're nodding your head, so you might have one ready to go.
Yeah, I do. I had a meltdown. There was a couple of times I had meltdowns. So I tell people all the time, you will have those. So not bad, but I mean, I did have this moment where it was a fight for me, because although I'm very confident, I know, because you have to be in that place in order to survive, because I started this journey in 2009, and I was kind of like Shantae Allen, where I've had a series of business ventures. And I started this in 2009. I didn't incorporate to 2013. And then I really rebranded and really started in 2022. So it's one of those things where it can play on your mind just a little bit if you're not, and it's good to have environments like this and have people to talk to and mentors and stuff like that. But the thing that hit me hard was there was a time where when I relaunched in 2022, January, well, actually right before that, fourth quarter of 2021, I predicted that I was going to hit a cash flow problem in April of 2022. And I saw it coming. And I was like, Lord, I'm your child. And then at that time I was working for the SBDC. So I'm working the affiliate of the SBA. So I had all the right connections. And so I just knew I was going to get the EIDL grant, the EIDL loan. And I did not get that. I kept getting declined. And I'm like, there are people that I'm trying to hire, God. Now, this is not funny right now. This is really not funny, because I'm really trying to hire and make the difference. And it just never came. It never came. I hit that cash flow issue, like I said, right smack dead in April, predicted my own thing. And I had a serious, my faith was tested at that moment, because there were people I really wanted to bring on at the time. And I just was more than confident that was going to happen. And I got to a point where I say, you know what, it's okay for me to cry right now. And I did. I just bawled out and cried. I went to I was going through an incubator process at the time, and I met this lady, And I just happened to call, she called or something like that out of the blue. And she spoke into my life in a way. That's all I could do is cry again. And I was like, I can't, I'm like, I can't get over this piece. I'm upset. And it's just like, this is really shaking my faith. I know I'm born to do this. I know without a shadow of a doubt that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm so glad that that person, she called at the time and she encouraged me. Of course, we went through the little boohooing, but the next day, it's like joy come in the morning. The next day, I felt refreshed and I didn't quite know why. Next thing I know, my everything changed and shifted in my business. From that point, I just went up. I hired a sales consultant off of faith because I didn't know how in the world I was gonna pay this lady. And wind up the money did just kind of come and we figured it out. And boom. My business went from zero to immediately. I like quadrupled my revenue. And I was like, okay, God, I get it. It's about the trusting and knowing that he got you. Even when you think, oh, this is the way, it may not be that way. And don't get mad if that door is closed. That was just a door that needed to be closed because I needed to go into another area. I didn't have a sales process. So just imagine if I'd have got this money, I probably would have never learned the sales piece that I needed and still need today. So I'm just so grateful that that door closed so that I could get on the track that I needed to. And it just kind of affirmed my faith at that point where it was like, God, I see it now. I needed to trust. I just need to trust regardless of how it looks, the uncertainty, the uncharted times. And even to today, it's just, there are times when things I can't see it and it looked like, okay, now that just looked like it's not going to happen. And you know what, God, you know what? I know you got me. I'm good. I'm just going to trust right now. And that's kind of what happened for me. But meltdown, straight meltdown, as confident as I am about business and all that I know and all that good stuff, that went clean out the window, had a straight up meltdown. Sure did. So that's so.
Thank you for that vulnerability in this space. I think that it is important for us to allow ourselves to, if we have a block, to reflect on how we can overcome that. And you're right, sometimes one door closes and it's not meant for you, and that's okay. You just got to let it go and move to the places where you are meant to be. And so thank you for that, for sharing that. Shantae Allen, what about you? Any story about overcoming a challenge?
Yeah, I think for me, I initially incorporated in April of 21, but it took me a long time because there were just a ton of issues. The main issue was technology. I was trying to build out a learning management system and it just was not working. And I was so frustrated. I had to set the whole business aside for several months. And I was telling people that it was coming, and everybody's like, when is it coming? And so it never came. And a friend of mine said, because I was at the point too where I was thinking I should just give this up because it's not working. And a friend of mine said, well, why don't you just do something different? Use a different one. And I went, huh. I never thought about it that way. So just the desire for perfectionism, trying to do what I wanted to do with the vision that I had and not taking account that sometimes you have to pivot. And so I finally figured out a different platform that I had never even thought about. And it was just much simpler because really everything that I was doing, because I've been a teacher for 19 years, so I know everything already. It's in my brain. So I really didn't need the platform at all. But I changed platforms. I created an ad. I launched the ad. And last November, I got my first few students for my first course. So I'm really excited about that. And that course ends this coming Monday. So those students will graduate. And some of them are preparing for their GED. Some of them are preparing to get back into the workforce, into college. And so I'm really excited that I had the opportunity to pour into them by just thinking differently, by pivoting. And so I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. And it's amazing. Congratulations. It's always, sometimes we're in love with the idea, and it can, we can look for all the ways in which to make it work, and sometimes we just need to step back and
Yeah.
read and think and reflect about what it actually is the thing that we should be doing. Because if you hadn't, moved over to that other platform, the students wouldn't have been able to find you. And so it
That's
worked
right.
out in the end, right? Absolutely.
That's right.
Dr. Shante, do you have any overcoming stories? That's a
Yeah,
lot.
I think I have a good one. One of my big struggles is that it was because this is an overcoming story. So I had to fight for my research. And my research was born in an environment that did not believe that my research would be worth anything because it was considered negative. It was not considered positive research. And I struggled because I was trying to make my message palatable, and that didn't work. And when I said, you know what, I'm a toxic leadership researcher. That is my specialty. It doesn't matter that you think you know what toxic is. I am a toxic leadership researcher, and am expanding that into cults and coercive leadership from a transformational leadership perspective. And so this is what I do. I see toxicity as something that can be transformed. It is not something that is terminal. And when I committed, one of the things that I did to overcome, I was thinking, and this is where, like CJ, Providence comes into the story for me. I was sitting and planning, and John Acuff is an author that I follow. And whenever he offers a challenge, I take it. And he has a finished calendar that gives you all 52 weeks on one view. And this is my second year using the finished calendar. And I decided for this calendar year, I'm hosting nothing. I'm reading, I'm writing, I'm publishing. That's the goal this year. And working on the things, excuse me, that will launch next year. And as soon as I put that plan in place and we all said Happy New Year, I had a meeting not long after the beginning of this year that showed me I was going to have to choose every day to stand by my plan. And I am finding that already fruitful, and we're just halfway through the first month of the year. And in the second week of this month, after I'd had a couple of meetings and easily this time said a few, no, I'm sorry, I won't be able to do it. I already have something that I've committed to do, saying no a whole lot this year. I'm going to be quite a broken record. But the second week of this year, I received notification from my alma mater that I'm being honored, and my research will be honored next month for a Distinguished Dissertation Award. And so I attach this to Providence, and I attach this to committing to stand by the plan. The plan came through prayer, plan came through preparation. The plan was intentional. And this is a buzzword that comes through entrepreneurial circles about being deliberate about what we offer. And the struggle was, everyone was saying you need to mold what you do to what people say they want. But people always have a want. People always have an opinion, and sometimes it's flaky and sometimes it's fleeting. So what I do should be anchoring. What I do should showcase stability. And that was really when I got over the hill, when I said, you know what, I've never done this before. And when we talk about faith, this is it for me. I am going to keep my website active, and my engagement will be through the written word. writing op-eds, writing articles, bringing practical examples of toxic leadership and coercion into a discussion space where you can see, here's a real life example of some nut somewhere, and here is how we assess this properly, and here's how we drill down and go granular to our individual leadership style and how this applies in real life. And so that was the hill for me, deciding that, no, I'm not giving you pretty leadership. No, I'm not changing my language. No, I'm not going to do anything that I'm not born to do. It was the commitment, like CJ's talking about, like, no, I'm here with a big old smile talking about toxic leadership. So that's the story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's amazing. I am ready to read what you put out now. Because I do think that, especially when it comes to, again, following that trend, right? People are not doing the things that they actually should be working on. We're just staying at that surface level, right? I mean, in the work that I do, I'm kind of burnt out on diversity and inclusion work because people just want to be the prettiness. Like, how can we, do an unconscious bias training for our new hires, but executive teams haven't even gone through it or aren't even discussing it? Like, okay, so who is this for and why are we doing it?
Right.
So it's definitely something that I love that you're sticking to your word. You're saying no. I feel like I should learn how to say that. Because it does make the difference when you're staying in your lane, you're knowing what is for you. Like, all of these are really lessons learned. So thank you for that. And then our last question here that I have, and if anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to bring them into the conversation. But how are you going to tackle 2023 in this changing economic climate? And by economic climate, I mean the things that are happening in the world around us. Everyone's talking about inflation, recession, all of these things, layoffs. But what are you hoping to foster and grow and tackle in this year, in this economic climate? I'll go to you, CJ, first.
Well, I'm gonna continue growing as I always have my team to continue growing as well. But the biggest thing is be committed and stay committed to helping people. That's the whole reason why I got in this, is to help small business owners simplify, just relieve the stress. Oh my gosh, like I said, I had a networking event right before this, and my heart was broken. I mean, I was almost in tears in some cases, because a lot of them, they just really were overworked, and that balance, I mean, some of them, it's impacting their families because they just need someone to come in and help them. And then on the side where we have the entrepreneurs who are, the BIPOC entrepreneurs from 0 to 100,000 that we target over on Wisdom Conscious Learning Institute side. You know, just being there, and it goes back to what you said earlier, Jesse, you hit the nail on the head when you went around and you, I guess you captured and summarized what the two Shantae said as well, and that's access. There are not a lot of good programs for entrepreneurs who are just starting out. There are some, but they're just not a lot that people know about or have access to it. And some folks are just starting these businesses on their own, and then they run into a lot of different challenges. So my thing is continue loving on people, creating this space where, we're letting people know, look, you don't have to do this by yourself. We want to make sure that, whatever you need, we're here to help you through it. The second piece is continue to give my current clients the best that I can definitely give them, continue to serve them and help them and be there for them. but that's what it is for me, is just continue to help people. Just, I mean, that's what I'm here to do. And that's what I, you know, solve those difficult problems on the ones who are scaling, and helping them streamline their systems. And then the people who are starting up, just really helping them and being giving them access that they need in order to start their businesses and create that strong foundation from the jump, so that's me.
Yeah, absolutely. Shantae Allen.
So my goal is to stay open-minded about opportunities to pivot. It is something that I hadn't thought about before, like I said earlier, but I am getting some additional opportunities that I hadn't thought about. And so even though I have my own vision, if somebody sees something in me and they feel like this is something that I can do, then I'm definitely going to stay open to that.
And Dr. Shantae.
So enjoying listening. I'm learning so much. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Councilwoman. I'm learning a lot. One of the things that I have done is I returned to a 9-to-5. And I did that with a different mindset. When I had a 9-to-5, I didn't fully appreciate it. And so I left and tried it and said, yeah, gonna need to go back. And it worked out where the place that I left ended up calling me back, paying my number. And so it took it. And so now in my mind is, okay, fund the vision. And so that's one of the things that I'm planning this year, is using wisdom, right? Using wisdom. And I have a list of things and am constantly looking, okay, what should the priority be? Trademarking is on my radar this year, copywriting, how we get myself positioned to where I can write without worry, without concern, getting legal things in place, and really tightening up the permissions sector of what I do. So that's my way of doing it. And I now that I've listened to CJ and Councilwoman Allen, I'm glad to be able to offer this perspective, that this was the opportunity for me to pivot. I'm telling you, I was trying to plant flowers and cement. It just wasn't happening. And when I got the call, I thought, well, okay. And I've already been able to do a lot since I've been back working a 9-to-5. So that's the tool that I'm using for this year.
And you know what? I think it's okay that you said, I'm still funding my vision, right? It's not that you're putting it off. It's not that you're like, you still know the purpose for which this 9-to-5 is helping you do the thing that you still want to do. And I think that, the same with Shantae Allen, pivoting is okay as long as we're still funding the vision, right? I also am, looking at some part-time work or some contract work in order to fund the vision. So so Ngozi, did you have something that you wanted to say?
I so wanted to be here at the beginning, but it didn't work out that way. So thank you for receiving me. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Janae, for the invitation. My name is Ngozi, and I need this. And I just thank God for this opportunity to connect with women across the globe, all on the same mission. And so, Dr. Shanta, I love what you said. Converting toxic leadership is so powerful. And I think that is something that is, we don't have to toss it, you know what I mean? But we can convert that. And I thank you for saying that, because that allowed me the opportunity to give someone else more grace. But that's awesome. But Janae, that meltdown story that you shared, right where I am. So I wanted to throw a rock at you, like, oh, like you talking that. But so that was so awesome. Thank you so much. And then when you talk about the pivot, and sometimes you have to pivot, that is a book title, I want you to know. Sometimes you have to pivot. But earlier in the year, I really registered the blackpivot.com with the intent to do a YouTube channel helping people to pivot. Because really, we all need to be pivoting into the tech world, certification or something, but we all have to pivot because we're in times that we've never seen before. And if we don't pivot, we'll be left behind, you know? So what that look like, what that feel like. But my approach this year is, I'm spiritual, I'm faith, I'm a believer. And everything I do from this point forward is purposeful. A job is the best business loan you can give yourself, right? And when I go to work, I've been self-employed, but I have to go back. And in fact, I had an interview today and I said, if I go back, it have to be meaningful. I cannot be self-employed, have all this freedom for all these years and go back like this. It's going to drive me crazy. So I had an interview today. The pay is not everything, but when we think about the times and the pivot and having a humble heart, strategic movement, intentional movement, what I love about it is I'm now getting paid to enhance my skill that applies to what I'm doing in my business. So my business, I'm a training and development firm, and the role is training and policy coordinator. And it's an organization that they want to take national. So everything that I ever thought about in training, I now have a pilot to test and see if it works. And I get paid to do it. So just if you do have to pivot and go back to work, make sure it aligns with what your business is. Find a role in your business. That way you're getting paid to strengthen your skills as opposed to paying to develop. So I'll be in a role that I'm developing, I'm learning, and I get to apply to see if, test and see. So that's amazing. In my approach, Proverbs 16:3, that is, commit your plans to the Lord, or however you believe, means to God, the Lord, and he will establish your ways. So coupled with wisdom, and really my biggest thing I had to overcome is myself and my children, and knowing that it's okay to say no and to say first quarter, mommy, I'm focused, catch me spring quarter where we can have some fun, but really saying no and setting those proper boundaries and understanding that I deserve myself, you deserve you. And it's okay to really have such a powerful focus where you're choosing yourself for the long-term gain for everybody else. So I'm really excited. Committing my works, operating in wisdom is my approach. And it's just radical because this is my first time believing in myself again, going at it again. And I have no other choice, in the world. But one last thing I want to say in regards to the change of the times, how we're living. Yes, I'm preparing financially, but let's not forget in the time of disaster, outage, that money don't matter because we don't have access to it. We can't spend it. The electric's out, money down, bank frozen. Remember the other parts and building those, our mental toughness, our emotional intelligence, our sound judgment, our critical thinking skills so that we can survive the times and live normal, even in the midst of a disaster. So I'm preparing both routes. I'm getting back to the basics, Black books, writing things down, preparing just in case of an emergency, stacking resources as well as monetary gains. But don't forget that the human capital is just as valuable as, economic gains, and establishing powerful strategic connections is so important for the movement. Yes.
Love it, love it.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was incredible. I fully support that YouTube channel. I can hear it already.
Y'all made me remember, like, oh yeah, I sure did, Shantae. You know, if you talking about a pivot a lot and it's in your soul, maybe we should collaborate, or maybe I should pass along. Who knows?
So thank you all. I think we only have a few minutes left. If anyone has any last words that they would like to share, anything that's on their heart or mind, anything that they would like to share forward.
There's only one thing that I will say is this is it for me. Believe that you can, even when you can't. You know, if God gives it to you, he's going to give you everything you need to make it happen. So believe and trust in that, not necessarily our own ability, but it's just that he is giving you everything you need. So just believe it, even against all odds, regardless of what you're seeing. Just believe and trust, and you'll be fine. That's it.
Don't you just believe her when she says that, right? I'm just, okay.
Any final thoughts here? Dr. Shantae, since you unmuted yourself.
I guess one of the biggest lessons for me has been, and Ngozi spoke to it, like I had to say, no, sis, this is who we are. And this is what we do. And we're going to do this because we've been doing it. And you know, not being intimidated if what you do requires you to create your own space. If it requires you to build your own table, if it requires you to bring your own chairs, not being afraid to do that.
That's right.
That was beautiful. Thank you. And Councilwoman Shantae Allen.
I would just add the importance of networking, whether it is in person or online. There are oftentimes you're going through something and you feel alone and you just don't know what to do. And then you have forums like this and you realize, oh, everybody's going through that as well. So it's not as bad as I thought it was. And so you just feel like your whole life is crashing down, but it's really not. And so you just have to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with other business-minded people, and make sure that you have someone who can speak life back into you so that you can keep going. Because sometimes, like you said, whether it's, you know, prayer or wishing or whatever it is that you do, sometimes it doesn't feel like it's enough. And so just hearing from somebody else to say, well, you know what, you may not have done it that way, but this is how I did it and this worked for me. Why don't you try it? And just that little bit of a nugget can possibly get you back on track. So networking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe wholeheartedly that it takes a community to be able to do all the damn things. So,
Yeah.
excuse my language. So thank you for being a part of our community here at WCLI. And I hope that we continue to have these sorts of conversations moving forward. I can't wait for the next one. I thank all of you for coming here tonight, and I hope to see you next time.